yeah, it's we'll just like chalk it up to all.
Yeah.
We'll put it with all the pile of all the other sad things. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
there's a few profound moments where now that I look back, I was like, that was an opportunity to end it right there. And there was a few
Yeah.
more, and I'm sure you have those too.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, the parent situation. I think this is a good question. Like, had you met any of his friends?
No, not that I can remember. It maybe, but I don't remember if I had met any of his friends.
So did that stand out to you as strange? I mean, so he was spending most of his time with you or working or doing something to make money fast, whether it was sex work, gambling. There wasn't a real job. With the promoting, I guess, was a real job,
Yeah,
right?
which he quit very early on because
Okay.
I found out he was cheating on me doing that, so he quit that very early on.
Oh,
He
no.
also was spending hours at the gym, like 5, 6 hours a day. He would be at the gym. Yeah, so he was either at the gym or making money in some facet. And also, he would sell fake programs online, like fake fitness programs. So he was just like desperate for money in any way that he could get it. Um, and yes, but I didn't think it was weird that he didn't have any friends because I was also like always a very introverted kind of girl. So like I had friends, like close ish friends, but I didn't hang out with them all the time. We would text sometimes, like it wasn't anything too crazy. So again, to me, it was like, you know, I
Did
didn't
you
see it as bad.
did you confide in them about the things that he was doing that upset you?
I was afraid to tell anyone what was really going on because I knew it was wrong and I wanted to protect him.
Yeah.
So I didn't want anyone to know, really.
So from the outside, everybody thought that your relationship, while they probably were like, "There's something askew with Dick,"
Yeah.
they couldn't validate that he was cheating on you or that he wouldn't come home or mentally just manipulating you. Like, and none of that was known by your support or your network.
None of them. None of it. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I recall him telling me that this time of his life, which I think is around is this time, that he was like the most into working out, training, dieting, cutting, doing the bulk, the cut, like chicken
Hmm.
and rice, prepping for shows
Yeah.
consistently and the most disciplined he's ever been in his life. Can
Hmm.
you confirm that or
So I will say he was at the gym a lot. So like he would be at the gym for 5 to 6 hours. Whether he was really working out while he was there, I don't know. I think he went there because he had nowhere else to go. Like because obviously he was homeless at one point, and then he was just somehow, some way, always trying to manipulate somebody. And I think he did that with his people at the gym.
Mhm.
As far as like diet, bulking, cutting, I never saw any of that. He always wanted to eat out, eat crappy food. Like he would also always control what was on my plate. So like he would make me a healthy breakfast in the morning of like spinach, eggs, berries, but then he would eat whatever the heck he wanted. So he was always trying to control the food that would go into my body, but he never bulked, cut. I never saw him like super
Shut
disciplined.
up. He did
Yeah,
that?
100%. Yeah. And also, I have a history of bulimia and eating disorders, and he was a huge, huge reason why that was like catapulted because he was constantly complaining about like me not eating healthy enough, constantly complaining, like always making me feel like I didn't deserve him because he was so fit that
Mhm.
like he would say like you're so spoiled. You don't deserve to be with somebody like me like and so it made me feel like, oh my gosh, I need to lose weight. I need to get in shape. I needed like he made me a fitness program and everything to follow. Like he
Same.
was
I
super.
bet it's the
Mhm.
same one.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Oh man.
But
Okay. Well, I'm really sorry about that because I mean, he did the same thing to me.
yeah.
And if I would be like, well, why do you get to eat pancakes and waffles for breakfast, but you made
Hmm.
me this horrific, not even,
Egg
he never
whites and
scrambled,
spinach.
he didn't even scramble the eggs. He just put the eggs in there and then with a little fork would go like this and it would be like this weird egg pancake. Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to eat this? He's like, well, don't you want to look good, don't you? Or,
Yeah.
or I'm just trying to be supportive of you and your wellness and fitness journey. Like it
Yeah.
was always like that he was being supportive and not being like the most manipulative and body shaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a huge thing that I still am working through because I don't he made me feel very confident in the beginning because
Oh yeah.
I was not skinny. I was like not the same person that you even see like today. Like I was overweight, I was unhappy, and he like called me beautiful and made me feel this way, and I was really scared to be naked in front of him, and he'd be like, "No," and he would pick me up. And
Yeah.
I would never let anybody pick me up because I'm like, "No, I'm fat." And he's like, "I'm strong. Shut up, you're not fat."
Yeah. I'd relate to you and what you're saying right now.
He gave me confidence that was solely like it was all him. It was fake confidence. Like he made me feel
Mm-hmm.
good, and because then he controlled it, and then he had the ability to take it all away from me.
All the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And in a very subtle way. Like it's not like he would ever say like you're fat, lose weight. At least not to me. But he
Hmm.
did it in subtle ways of like you're spoiled. Like you don't deserve, to be with me. Like I don't know, just certain things like that. It was very like subtle to me, and the way he would try to control what was on my plate and the food that I was eating. Like it was all, oh, like he did call me beautiful in the beginning, but maybe he's not happy with the way that I look now. Like maybe, something's changed and now he's trying to change the way I look essentially. So,
Yeah, that's a really confusing mind fuck that a lot of people can probably relate to. It doesn't feel very good, and I think that when you have self esteem issues and body dysmorphia or eating stuff,
mm-hmm.
I I don't know that if you ever really get over that. And
Yeah.
I posted a story the other day that talks about I was reading like negative reviews, and someone's like, "How insecure can this girl be?" And I'm like, "Fucking really insecure. Like I
Yeah.
didn't come out the womb like this. Like I can guarantee you that every single person that's insecure in some fashion, whether it's a 1 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, it's because they had somebody like Dick in their life
Oh, yeah.
or multiple people.
Yeah.
We don't just choose that. Our brain just doesn't say you should hate your body, you should hate yourself. Look in the mirror, that
Right.
person sucks.
Somebody told you to feel that way. Or
Yep.
somebody made you feel that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's hard to undo if even possible. So yeah, well I am so sorry about that. I'm sorry
Oh,
about all of it, but oh my god.
yeah, we're good now. So,
Yeah, we're
I'm
good.
here to tell you that you can heal from that because I have for
Oh,
sure. So,
okay. Well that's optimistic.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, so at that time, yes, he was like working out a lot, but I never saw like the bulk cut thing. He was definitely on steroids. So, that was one thing he would do was inject steroids in front of me in his butt. So, like, he didn't have to work hard for his muscles. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he would just go work out and had him because he took so much steroids. So, yeah.
Did you experience um I think at this time, if the timeline is correct, or if he told me the truth or not, like at this
Yeah,
time it was anabolic steroids. Did you
for sure.
experience roid rage or breaking of walls? Was there a lot of fighting with you guys? You're in your own space now. I would assume that maybe he would hold off on the fighting because your dad was just right next door.
Yeah, so the fighting, screaming, yelling, none of that started until we got our own apartment.
Hmm.
And absolutely roid rage for sure. So even immediately after he would inject the steroids, it would like affect him. Like, he even would say like he was afraid he was going to die or have a heart attack because like the way it would give him a physical like reaction in his body, he
Hmm.
just would like well up with rage or like just chaotic unsafe
Immediately after.
immediately after like
Gosh.
he would do the whole like chest banging thing and like do like the like to just get like all crazy like and it was and in those moments I didn't feel like unsafe because he was just having like a physical reaction to the drug.
Hmm.
But yeah, so aside from that though, aside from like all the chest banging gorilla man stuff that he would do,
And
he
like, just so everybody knows, like it's like one of these like, let's go.
yeah,
Like it
let's
is
go, yeah.
my mother's like, she was terrified of it at first, and she's like, this person is psycho, but then it was like her favorite thing because now she does it like jokingly around me. She's like, oh, look at that basket, let's fucking go, Amanda.
Yeah.
Like, but it is like a gorilla, and
And
it
like he hits his chest. It's not just like that. Like,
hard.
he would like punch the crap out of himself.
Yep, but no
Yeah.
bruises ever, and you're like, what's
No.
wrong with this guy? This is
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely experienced the roid rage. Just that he was always angry, always on edge, always definitely punched holes in walls, definitely. I mean, just so many things. Yelling, screaming, constantly just, yes, he had absolutely had anger. When we would argue, he would like corner me in the in a room of the house and like keep me there. He would always do that, obviously the staring thing.
Mm-hmm.
Was like throwing things, always very physical in some way, would, take my things that I really cared about and threaten to destroy them or throw them over the balcony and things like that. So he definitely had a lot of.
What kind of things?
So at this time I was a writer. I wasn't published yet, but that was the most important thing to me was my books. And so he would take my laptop where all my books are stored and threaten to throw it over the balcony or destroy it or to like crack it over his knee, things like that. So things that were very important to me, he would use them against me.
That's wild because those I can assume were the things that he said makes you different and makes you so special.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep, he loved that I was a writer. He like even read like parts of my stories and was like so in love and so impressed and then
Mm-hmm.
used it against me. So,
What would like spark him being cornering you? I mean, I guess there's not really anything could set about, like someone could beep like their horn outside and he could be like, this fucking place, but
yeah,
what did the typical, like, what did you guys fight about mostly?
constantly the fact that he was talking to other girls, Snapchatting other girls, cheating on me. Like it was a constant conversation that he was constantly doing something he shouldn't be doing. And he didn't like getting caught. And, I will always find out. I'm an
Yeah.
investigator. Like I'm always going to find out when you're cheating or doing something you shouldn't be doing. And also he was not good at hiding it. Like
He's
he
the
didn't care
worst.
to hide it. Yeah. So yeah, it was constantly the things that he was doing wrong. He would freak out about it because he wanted to make it about himself, even though he was doing me wrong. He wanted to play the victim. And so
Yeah.
he would freak out and scream and try to control the situation and corner me in a corner. And yeah, so.
Well, I don't remember the term. There's so many of these, narcissistic, sociopathic abuse terms now, but um, like when you want to talk to them about something or you confront them about something that they did wrong and they change the topic or the subject about something
Oh, yeah.
else. Like, what is that called? Like, I can't remember.
It's
Like
not
word
gaslighting.
salad or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. I can't remember, but that's what he would do. He would constantly reflect or project or change the subject entirely and make the argument about something that it wasn't even about.
Mm-hmm.
So that now we're way off subject, we're way off topic, and I can't even get control of the conversation back to talk about what's actually wrong,
Mm-hmm.
which was his behavior. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
it confuses you too. And you sometimes you're in the conversation and so far down the rabbit hole of whatever he has done now is that you're like, I don't even remember why we're having this conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it'd be like,
Absolutely.
see, that's why you're crazy. And I didn't do anything wrong. You're crazy.
Exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I
Insane.
totally really.
Well, I would consider that domestic violence, cornering
Oh,
you.
it.
Like he had your car without you. Like, were there ever times where like you wanted to leave but you couldn't like leave? Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
basically is controlling everything about where you go and what you do, but also at the same time being the most promiscuous. You like took
Hmm.
over your life essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, he absolutely on multiple occasions took my car keys from me. He would take my phone from me. He would not let me leave the house, or he would just leave the house and abandon me with and take my car. So then I had nowhere to go or nowhere, like he would. So yeah, he. It was always about him trying to control the situation, always about him trying to control me. And so yeah, I definitely was stranded multiple occasions for sure.
So did you feel like at any point you're like, I know that this is not okay, or like what I guess was the head of it all?
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely so many things that I was like, this relationship is not okay. I
Mhm.
shouldn't be in this relationship. But again, it's so hard to leave when you're in it. It's so hard to make that decision to separate yourself from the person you are now trauma bonded to. Yeah, there were so many things that I was like, I can't be in this relationship anymore. Me and Dick actually broke up like probably 50 times in the 2 months we were together. Like we constantly were breaking up, getting back together. It was never to the point where he like actually moved out or anything, but like we were constantly breaking up, getting back together.
Mhm.
And one of the biggest things that stands out when I was like, this man is not for me, was when he signed off the rights to his daughter when
Ugh.
we were together. So yeah, that was
That's the same time. Like I literally always forget.
yeah,
I don't ever forget about her, but
yeah,
I always forget that this is literally the same time because as you're telling this story, and like obviously we've had conversations about this before, you think that there'd be some indication that he was a father.
yeah, but there's not
There's
at
literally not.
all.
So that's
Yeah.
okay. That's what we need to talk about next. You had said that you had reached out to his first ex-wife, that she
Mhm.
confirmed, okay, he has a gambling problem, he
Yeah.
is a sex addict, and potentially has some mental health diagnosis, whatever.
Yes.
Okay, so he hadn't. I see. I never get to hear the part of the story where he still has rights. So what did that look like? What did Dick being a father look like? And how was co parenting with his ex?
So he definitely had some issues with his ex, understandably so. They didn't really get along. He wasn't a part of his daughter's life at all. And this was one of the things that his first ex wife told me, was that he always wanted to make a reappearance in his daughter's life when there was a new woman in his life, to like make himself look good, to make him look like he wanted to be a dad, but that the ex-wife was the problem. And so that was a huge, issue. Um, but he was not, even even when his daughter started to come around. So he did talk to his ex-wife about spending more time with his daughter. She said that she didn't want to, but she said it was okay because that's legally what's right.
Mm-hmm.
But when she was around, when the daughter was around, he was the most neglectful father. Like he would leave her in the car seat for hours, like just didn't want, like in our house, didn't want to take her out.
How old
And
was she at this point?
I think she was about 2.
Okay.
And he just always seemed so annoyed when she was talking or making noises. He never fed her, so I would always have to step up and like feed his daughter. He never changed her diapers. There was multiple occasions where his ex-wife would pick up the daughter and would say like, have you changed her diaper at all since she's been here? And me, as the new girlfriend, I
Mhm.
didn't want to overstep and like play mom and change a his daughter's diaper when I don't really want to like overstep a boundary or a line with his ex-wife, who already kind of doesn't like me, even though like we developed a friendship
Mhm.
eventually. But in the beginning she was very wary of me, understandably so.
Right.
And so I didn't want to like change her daughter's diapers. I didn't want to step up as mom when I'm not mom, and Dick should be taking care of his daughter and he's not. And so it was like this trying to find the balance between like, I need to make sure when his daughter's in our presence she's taken care of, but I'm also afraid to tell Dick he needs to take care of his daughter because I was afraid of him, and I was afraid to step up and do anything because I am not her mom, and I don't want his ex-wife to think I'm trying to play mommy or anything. So it was just, yeah, it was like a weird area that I was trying to navigate. But he was absolutely the most neglectful dad. He did
But
not
he
care when
didn't
he
have
was around.
any like, I don't know. I don't. I mean that alone shows you that there's some sort of mental health diagnosis. That's
Oh,
that's your child. So did he
yes.
ever show like any kind of like emotion, like feel bad about that, or like no, like
No, he just seemed like he was pretending to want something to do with his daughter because I was in his life and he wanted to seem like a good man. But when she was around, he just didn't care about her. Never showed her any love, didn't hug her, didn't kiss her, didn't even pay attention to her, didn't take care of her. It was just like she was there and now he wanted nothing to do with her. And so, and also too, I really think he used his daughter to piss off his ex-wife. I really think he tried to use that to, continue to manipulate that previous relationship.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no. And then he had mentioned it to me, or she had mentioned it to me, that she was trying to get him to sign off the rights to her daughter, his daughter, and he brought it up to me one day. And I purposely did not encourage it or discourage it. So I wasn't going to tell him to do it, but I wasn't going to tell him to not do it because I wanted to be careful about that.
Yeah.
And then he came to me one day and was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to do it. I think I'm just going to sign off the rights to my daughter. It's too much. It's too much to deal with. I don't want to deal with it. I'm overwhelmed. I have a lot going on. So I'm just going to sign off the rights. And I was just like, okay, like I'll support you in whatever you want to do. So I actually was the witness to him signing off the rights to his daughter. We did it in my kitchen, in my apartment, which is just so wild. And yeah, and he signed off the rights to his daughter. No emotion attached to it. Didn't care. Didn't bring it up again after he did it. Like it was just done.
I have so many emotions wrapped up in this. Like I say this all the time when the topic is on um his daughter,
Yeah.
that like my entire future included this fairy tale dream of potentially co-parenting with
Yeah.
his ex, right? And um the story that I was told is completely opposite of that. And that's what I believe because that's all I knew back then. Um but the story that I was told was that, at some point he like sold drugs or something and his ex knew about it, and so she was kind of like using what she knew, his past interactions, right, against him, basically blackmailing him into signing off his rights of his daughter, and it was under duress and he did not want to do it.
Yeah.
And also, mind you, he's telling me this while he's showing me pictures of him with his daughter on his shoulder, or
Yeah.
like I can like she was a prop, you know
Exactly.
she was a prop, and still to this day, even though there are no rights, there's no communication, there hasn't been anything for years, he still tells people that there's communication. He still
Oh yeah.
tells people that he has an amazing, smart, uh, athletic daughter, that takes after only him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when in reality, it's like, bro, you have not had
You don't
anything
even
to
know
do
your
with
daughter.
that child. And when you did have access, you neglected. Like DCFS could have came and put him in
Oh
jail.
my gosh, I know. Like it was bad, and of course, like I did what I could with
Yeah,
like the situation.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, he was just the worst. Like, did not care, did wanted nothing to do with her, and that's another thing too that you just pointed out is that to the public, to his social media followers, to people on the outside, it looks like and appears because of how he posts about it and talks about it that he's this great dad, but he is not. He doesn't even know his daughter. Like he knows nothing about her. He's gonna keep pretending, but he doesn't know a single thing about her.
I, having this conversation over and over again, I I think that his ex-wife is an amazing person. I think
Oh
that
yeah.
everything that he says about her, um, actually is the truth is that it's him that, oh, I broke up with her because she was a prostitute. No, you were the prostitute,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Um, and you're right. Like when you said that she had let you know that when he's in a relationship that he wants to try and come back into like his daughter's life, that 100% happened with me. And
Mm-hmm.
with like my legal background, I was like, okay, I'll help.
Yeah.
And reflecting on that with the ex-wife, like we FaceTime a lot, and reflecting on that on my own, I feel so horrible because she has explained to me, and she'll tell everyone herself, but how horrible that feels every single time that he reemerges from the sewers and is like, there's this fear in her heart that like my baby could be taken from me, or my baby could potentially be around somebody that has abused her in the past. Like that's neglect and abuse.
Yeah.
And me having a part in that and trying to facilitate that is something that like I've gone to church and gone to reconciliation for. Like
Yeah.
I never want anybody to feel like that, because how would I have felt like that if that was my child? It would go to the end of the world, you know?
Yeah.
She's not even my child, but I feel the most protective over her so much more now because I know the truth, where
Yeah.
I'm like, like no way. And that she actually, his daughter is also like is a huge driving factor for this too,
Yeah.
because I want to make sure, not necessarily even her, but that other people are aware of how she was treated, and
Yeah.
that person is not her father,
Mm-mm.
sperm donor. But yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, and also too, I don't blame yourself or feel bad for like wanting to get Dick the rights back to his daughter or whatever, because he did that to all of us. It's like how
yeah,
he manipulates. And that's why when his ex-wife reached out to me to like write a statement so that he couldn't get the rights back to his daughter, I wrote it for her. I would never write anything like that for Dick, because
yeah,
like I know how he treated me, and I would be fearful for his daughter to be in his presence, especially as a grown up now. She's like 6 7 years older than then.
hmm,
I no would never feel safe for him to be around her at all.
yeah. Well, thank goodness. I don't believe that there's any possible scenario where
Oh yeah,
rights will be reinstated.
thank
And
God for that.
again, hopefully, this can sit as a gigantic piece of firsthand evidence.
Yeah.
Um, wow. Okay. So he never talked about it again.
Mm-hmm.
And how did it make you feel that the person that you're in a romantic relationship with was okay with signing off the rights to their daughter?
So this was the first like real time that I was like, okay, I have to end this, because this isn't just like hurting me, this isn't just cheating on me, this isn't just like harming me, this is like your daughter, this is who you are biologically supposed to love, and he doesn't. And the fact that he had no emotions tied to it, like it was just done when it was done, and he never brought it up again. It was like, this man is a sociopath, like I have to get out. And again, didn't get out because I it was so hard to leave. But that was the moment that I was like, all right, like this has got to end. Thankfully, it did ended up ending, but not due to my like want or desire. Do you want me to like segue into that part, or do you have
Yeah,
anything
I mean, I
for me
think
to?
that is that naturally how the progression of the story. I mean, was there anything in between the right signing off and
Not that I can think of. It was just that was like the biggest thing that happened right before everything happened. But like, yeah, I mean, just the fact that we were in like a already just unhealthy, toxic relationship, and then the rights signing off thing happened, and never there was never a point where our relationship was healthy or normal or like good. Like there was never a point where I felt comfortable or solid or safe in that relationship. Why did I stay? I don't know. But and then my 21st birthday comes around, so we wake up on the day of my 21st birthday, and we go to the gym because that's what we do together. We work out, and he makes me eat healthy, and so we wake up to go to the gym together. And whenever I say it was my 21st birthday, people assume that we were drunk. We were not. Like, it was bright in the morning, we were going to the gym. And once again, I see that somebody's texting Dick who's not supposed to be. It's a girl. And so we're in the car. He's driving my car. And I ask him, like, who's texting you? Why is this girl texting you? He freaks out. So that's one thing with him. There was ever no conversation. If you ask him a question that he's unhappy about, he's going to immediately control the situation. This was one of those times. So I asked him, he immediately starts screaming at me, freaking out, going off. He flips the car around in a very unsafe, like without even looking, just flips the car around to make a U-turn, takes my phone out of my lap, and he already has my keys because he's driving my car. And he's just screaming at me the whole way home, trying to control the situation because he knows he's been caught cheating again. And we get back to my apartment. He's still screaming at me. And at this point, I'm very scared because I don't have my phone. He still has my car keys. I have no way to leave. So I'm not even listening to him or trying to fight about what we're fighting about. I'm just yelling at him, give me my keys, give me my phone, give me my phone, give me my phone. Like just yelling at it over and over again because I'm scared. Like I have no way out. If I need to call the cops or if I need to leave, like I have nothing. So he gets sick of me saying, give me my phone. He grabs me and throws me on the ground. I end up landing facing away from him, like in between a door frame. And he jumps down on the ground and gets behind me and starts suffocating me. So he puts his forearm on my mouth and lifts up. And he has massive forearms. Okay, this guy
They're
is a
literally,
body
I was just gonna say, like, it's bigger than my bicep. Like
bicep. Like,
I'm
yeah,
pretty positive that I remember trying to put my two hands like this around. So it's like that's around. So
yeah.
imagine how big it is
It's a
wide. Yeah.
massive, massive forearm. So he easily covers my mouth and then lifts up to cover my nose. And I'm suffocating, obviously. And I'm just like, ripping at his arms, trying to get him off of me. And he screams in my ear, like, what are you tapping out? Are you tapping out? And again, I'm still just trying to get him off of me. And I'm sitting there on the ground thinking, like, this is how I'm going to die. I'm going to die right here. Like, I'm not going to be able to get out of this. This is my last moment. That's all I could think. Um, and then he finally lets me go. He looks down at me. I'm obviously hysterically just sobbing. And he sees blood. Like, my mouth is covered in blood because like, my lips were caught in my teeth. So my lips were bleeding. And he was pushing so hard on my gums that my gums were bleeding. And I see his face, like a light comes on or something. And he just books it out of my apartment and just leaves. And so I'm hysterically crying, a total mess. For some reason, the first person I think to call is my best friend who lives across the country. She tells me to hang up and call the cops. I'm scared to call the cops. I don't want to get Dick in trouble. I don't want, him to be arrested. Like, I'm afraid. So I call my dad, hysterically crying, telling him what happened. My dad hangs up with me and he calls the cops for me.
I
And
think
then
also it's important to mention your job at this time because I don't think that you
oh,
mentioned that yet too.
no, I haven't. So yeah, so I worked for the Clark County Detention Center, or for LVMPD. I worked at the Clark County Detention Center, so I worked at the jail. And I was very afraid also to call the cops because I was afraid to get fired from my job at the jail with
Yeah.
what was going on. So yeah, so my dad calls the cops for me. They obviously show up and they do a whole investigation. They were there for a couple of hours. And the whole time that they're there, they're telling me, like, keep texting Dick. Like, because he's texting me as soon as he left. He's texting me.
Did he have your car or did he take off on foot?
He took off on foot. So I'm assuming that he Ubered to the
Okay.
gym or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, he did take off on foot. Thankfully, left my car. And yeah, so they're there for a couple hours interviewing me. Different detectives come in interviewing me. They take pictures of my mouth and my um, and yeah, so they're there, and we find out that Dick is at EOS gym, which is where he spent a lot of his time. And so they go to EOS and they arrest him. And they take him, unfortunately, to the jail where I worked at the time. So everyone knew what was going on. Everyone knew what happened, which was like the worst thing, the most embarrassing thing for me. Probably like the hardest part of that story because like that's like so embarrassing that your boyfriend gets taken to the jail where you work for trying to kill you.
Hmm.
And so,
It's not
yes,
embarrassing. It feels embarrassing. It's
yeah,
fucking traumatic.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
really is.
and I mean, I think about the mindset that you have to be into where you're someone attempted to suffocate you, and you're thinking about them, and you're thinking about embarrassment and shame
Yeah.
instead of
And
fear.
yeah. Sorry if you can hear the dog.
Oh, it's okay. There's like six in my house. I'm shocked that they're quiet.
Okay. I don't know why she's barking all of a sudden. Sorry. I'm like waiting for her to shut up. Can you hear it? Is it really loud?
Yeah, I can hear. We can wait. It's fine.
Okay.
She
Somebody
probably
just
just
came.
saw a dog walking past.
Yeah. But yeah, so I was thinking of, yeah, I was definitely embarrassed. I definitely felt shame. I felt like it was all my fault. I had put myself in this situation. I was so afraid to get fired because I was still pretty new at that job at that point. I had started in 2015. It was only 2016. I don't even think I had fully completed my probationary period yet. So I was genuinely terrified that I was going to be fired. And yeah, so Dick ended up having warrants out for his arrest already that I didn't know about. So he had to serve time for those in addition to like we went to court, which is a whole another part of the story. But uh, we had to go to court, and he was convicted of a battery domestic uh, felony for strangulation. And yeah, um, yeah, sorry. So we did end up going to court, and the first court session was a digital court session, so he wasn't actually physically in the room with me. And I just remember like shaking before going in the room. Like I was crying. There was a emotional support like woman there, and she was like sitting with me trying to help me get through it. And I was just like shaking, sobbing. I didn't want to go into the courtroom. And then when I went in there, it ended up being fine. But at the very end, Dick ended up asking, I just wanted to know if Joanna is pregnant. And so he was just still trying to manipulate me from the inside of jail. Like there was no reason for him to ask that question. Nothing was going on. There was no speculation or like, thankfully the judge was like, that's not your business, and whatever she decides to do with that information is hers. And then he ended the call. So Dick was like not on the screen anymore. And then I was just hysterically crying again.
That's
Um,
so crazy, but it's like I don't know if I can even verbally explain why he would do that, but I understand why he would do
yeah.
that. Knowing him,
Hmm.
it makes if it was me, it would make me. I'm gonna try. It would make me feel like he was sorry because he knew that there was a potential for connection and that family life that we had dreamed of together.
Yes. And I think, yeah, it was just he wanted to make me feel weak in the moment, or make me feel like he still cared about me, still loved me, still wanted to know if I was okay. Like it broke my heart to hear him ask that question. Um, but yeah, so that was the first court session, and then the second one was actually in a full courtroom where the courtroom was full, and there was a bunch of inmates on the side, and he was one of them in his little orange jumpsuit. And he goes up on stand, and I'm just in the crowd, so I'm not, I don't have to be on stand or anything. I'm just there to watch what happens. And he's standing up there, and he's staring at me, doing his whole stonewall, emotionless,
Direct, direct.
directly at me, glaring at me. And my mom just keeps telling me, like, she's with me, thank God. And she's like, just don't look at him. Just keep, face me. Just don't look at him. And he's staring at me so hard that the judge notices that he's staring into the crowd. And the judge asks my attorney and says, is the victim in the room? And she's doing this in front of everybody. And the attorney says, yeah. And she points at me. And the judge realizes that Dick is staring at me, trying to intimidate me, trying to, I don't know. And she starts yelling at him in the entire courtroom, saying, how dare you be so arrogant in my courtroom? Like, I cannot believe you're acting like this. Just going off on him, thankfully. And so, like, she gets control over that situation, which makes me feel better. But again, like, this is still him trying to manipulate me, trying to make me feel inferior or whatever he was doing. Like, he never stopped up until the last point. He even called me had another inmate call me from inside the jail, even though he had been served a temporary protective order, to not contact me at all. Like, he was constantly trying to do something to get to me, get back at me, get through to me. Like, he never stopped. So, yeah, he ended up being convicted of a felony. I thought it had dropped to a misdemeanor, but you and I talked that it remained a felony. And
And I think
he
too, it's also like when he told me he had that, which again, I don't know if I know anybody with a felony,
I
and
don't.
certainly now I do, but certainly I think it's because they don't like it's not something that like you're showboaty about. But for him,
Right.
it was just like this. I have a record. Oh, okay. What? I have a felony. Well, I have a violent felony for strangulation. Those are the things that the adjectives that he uses. And while that is very true,
Yeah.
well, part of it is true because I believe that he, I think that there was some sort of plea deal to where it wasn't a violent felony. That's what he was charged with, but he was only convicted of a felony via strangulation. There was other things associated too, right? Like
Yeah.
coercion, maybe even
Yeah.
like kidnapping or something that he told me.
I never saw kidnapping on the police report. It's possible, but he was booked for originally for coercion for taking my phone and my keys because I had no way to escape, and battery domestic strangulation. So those were the two that I know of. Yeah.
It's wild too because as you were explaining how you felt like before you went into the courtroom or even like virtual stuff, you know what I mean? I just think back to I mean, a divorce is not anything violent and it's in family court and it should be something that's relatively civil while you know there's a lot of feelings wrapped up, there shouldn't be anything that would make me feel uncomfortable being in there. And I remember the first time seeing him again after he had abandoned me the last time virtually. One, he was wearing the suit that we had made for him for our wedding, and that was something
Mm-hmm.
that only I would know and notice.
Yeah.
And I wish that I had the recording because I didn't turn my camera on until I absolutely had to because I was afraid that in my face anybody he could see that I was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He had the camera on the entire time. In the waiting room, the camera was on. His microphone was off. And then when I turned my camera on, it was one of those things where he was
Mm-hmm.
like that, smiling into the camera.
Yeah.
And it was so uncomfortable for me. But that's also another thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be words. It doesn't even have to, it can be
No.
simply just a glare
Mm-hmm.
after you've experienced this type of trauma bond with somebody. It almost makes me think of I watched 50 Shades of Grey like the other night. I think I watched the second one. You know how like the ex comes in and tries to kill Anna and
Yeah.
Christian comes in and he's like and she goes down on her knees.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an attempt of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. To
Hmm.
make you submit, to make you, yeah, be
Except he's
fearful.
poor and not that handsome and doesn't do nice things. And
True.
yeah. Except
Yeah.
I don't know, just those main things. He's not a billionaire, but
No, definitely not.
yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
Uh,
that's fucking traumatic, and you know, I think it's important to like tell my. It's not my version; it's what I was told. So, what I was told about this specific scenario, obviously, is also bullshit. But when we first got together, and he told me this, of course, my first thing was like, I want to see the court records, and I have
yeah.
all and like I have all of them and fingerprints. I have literally since he was the first time we got in trouble until recently, and I read through all of them and I think that people will probably be like, well, if you read all of it and you know like what was in the police report, why didn't you be like you're lying, dick? Same reason I didn't leave. You know, it's the same reason like we
Yeah.
didn't leave. It's like we wanted to believe in him. We wanted to believe that possibly at some point something could have been skewed. So he told me that he had been trying to like break up with you and get his stuff back, that he came back to your shared apartment and maybe that you wouldn't give him his stuff back. So there was some sort of like altercation, and there was a lot of yelling. And I think he said that you were like being really loud, that he wanted to make sure that like he's like, I know that this was wrong, but she was screaming and I didn't want the police to be called. And so his version of it was that he put his hand over like your mouth. And he backed that up by saying like, and I had bite marks on my hand. And so clearly, if I have bite marks on my hand, I'm not strangling anyone because my hands are not this,
Hmm.
and your mouth is open. Obviously, that's not true.
Yeah.
I will say too that him getting arrested at the gym probably was one of the most embarrassing moments of his life, and very like full circle. Everybody thinks that I'm perfect,
Yeah.
and I am a god here. And he recalls very vividly, like he told me very vividly, that he remembered being in handcuffs sitting on like the curb, and that people were walking into the gym that he knew and that knew him. So
I
good.
hate that I love that, but I do
No,
love
I think that that's good. I think it's, you're the first person that not, I mean, it's not even made or forced. It's like because of this situation and because of you carrying it through, there are a lot of people that would press charges and then pull them back and get back
Yeah.
together. But the fact that you carried it through, you made him be accountable for
Yeah.
his actions, and you're the first one, if maybe like the only one, right? I mean, besides his ex-wife with taking away the rights, which is warranted too. um
And she didn't even take them away. He signed them
right, yeah,
off.
he wanted to, he wanted it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. It's just, it's so crazy because when you talk, as we're having the conversation, I it's like I lived with that person,
Yeah.
you know. And there were situations I was never really afraid of him, and I think that he knew that, and I think because he knew I wasn't afraid of him, um that he never really, he didn't try to intimidate me that much, like physically, like punching walls, breaking doors, punching a mirror one time, you know. But like
Yeah.
I I don't know, like I had, when shit got really bad at the end, like I was threatening to him, and I was like, you want to keep playing this game, like I will make a global podcast about you. I'll tell
Yeah.
everybody everything about you because you fucked up and you told me some stuff that maybe people don't know, or you know, like I was very, very like pushed at some point. So much trauma had happened. I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be cruel to this person because I felt like I needed them, which was trauma, but also at the same time, I was like, I need to stand up for myself in some capacity. So,
Absolutely.
um, yeah, like thank you for sharing that. I think that this whole process of the this timeline that I have, it's like I think you said something like on our pre-call, you were like, we're like a fucked up support group, all of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I love that because I do feel that way. I feel like there's so many people in my life that were my support that I couldn't go to because I, if I would say I feel like this, I would be met with something like, well, you shouldn't have done this,
Yeah.
where, and it would like discredit my feelings or
Yeah.
experiences, like they didn't happen or that it was my fault. And in having conversation with you and having conversation with all of the other exes, and even some family members too, which have reached out to me, um, I feel so much better. And it's really been the thing that I'm like, okay, I was a victim. I don't like saying that. People don't like to be the victim, but like I was a victim. You were a victim. His daughter,
Absolutely.
his family. I mean, do you know that like that he had like stolen a bunch of stuff from like his family, and that's why they, most of them don't associate with him.
I didn't know he stole from his family, but he sure as heck stole from me. So I 100% believe it. Like, he stole my grandma's gold, like vintage gold necklace. He stole my grandma's necklace from me, and so many other things from me as well. But because he needs money all the time for his freaking addictions, like he would steal stuff from me all the time. So I do not doubt that he stole from his family, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's wild how cyclical it is because
Yeah,
maybe if one part of that fucked up, like the gambling addiction, if that disappeared, potentially there would be an opportunity for him to need the money and have the God complex, but at least he would have money. It's the desperation that lives on the other side of the loss that then
yeah,
drives him into the sex work, the all of that
mm,
stuff. Um, it's really, really tragic, and it's hard for me to even now say like, "Fuck him. I hope he dies." Like
yeah.
I could never, and I would never, and that's not who I am. And I think that that's part of the reason he knows that
Yeah, he knows that. He
all of
knows
us.
that you would never want that for him. He knows like how we would be, how we want to help. Like that's exactly right. And to go back to what you said a minute ago as well, hearing your story, and I'm so excited to hear the other ex's stories as well. And I know I've heard his first ex-wife's story too. It is so validating and it is so comforting because when you get out of that situation, it's like, how could I be so stupid? How did I let this all happen? But like I said in the beginning, unless you've been through it, you don't understand. You don't know what it's like to go through that with someone who is such a master manipulator. So hearing your story, hearing his first ex-wife story, like it brings me so much comfort because it's like, okay, I wasn't stupid. Like you said, I really was a victim. I
Mhm.
really was. And I hate saying that, but it's
Yeah,
the truth.
yeah. I don't like it to be a label, but I do own that
Yeah.
as part of my truth and things that I've gone through. I guess one last question, like, when did you feel when did you feel healed from it all? Like, how
Yeah.
long did that take you, and what was the process?
So I didn't realize how badly it was affecting me until like a year later after it happened. I didn't realize that it was so traumatic for me. But I didn't want it to be traumatic. Like I was so mad at the situation and so mad at Dick that I was like, no, like I'm gonna be fine. I'm fine. So it took me a while to actually get the help that I needed. And so just this last year in 2023 was when I started therapy. I did about a whole year of therapy. And I did rapid eye movement therapy, which actually helps your body process the trauma that you've been through. Not just talk therapy, like talking it out, but
Mhm.
it physically helps you process it. And so it wasn't until this last year in 2023 that I finally truly healed from it. Because before, if I talked about Dick or if anyone asked me questions about it or it was mentioned, my whole body would go into fight or flight and I would start shaking and I would like be like so uncomfortable, just sweating. I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
But now I fully feel moved through that and out of it and have fully healed and processed it. And yes, that's like really sad that it took me 6 years to do that, but I'm so grateful that I finally did get that help because now I can trust again in relationships. I've just changed in so many ways. My anxiety is lessened, my depression is lessened. Um and yeah, so now truly I feel fully healed and moved on from the entire Dick thing. It affected my life for years, which is just sad. But, everyone heals at their own pace.
Yeah, everybody heals. What is going to heal you isn't going to heal me, isn't going to heal, every
Exactly.
single person individually who's watching this. And I think that that's a really good point. Too. If I hadn't done the podcast, I don't think that I would have ever known the right way to heal because this affected me so deeply into my core. Um,
Yeah.
I think that, you mentioned it being validated by hearing our stories. Again, same for me. Um, I think that part of the sharing and the sitting in the pain and all of that kind of was something that I needed to do because I hadn't really done that traumatic situations. I was married before, and I just swept that under the rug, and that kept coming up and popping up everywhere. The
Yeah.
abandonment wound, which he knew that, hey, it was like he saw the abandonment wound in my life and was like, how bad can we make this?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm still, that one is still so hard for me, so much so that it, I don't know, like relationship stuff is still very difficult because it's like I
Yeah.
don't want to not trust people, but at the same time, the people that I've trusted the most in my life have been the people who hurt the most. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
and even being able to say that out loud and to be reflective on it is part of the process, because I
Yeah.
know for sure that if I just swept it under this bed right here and never talked about it, like I would never be in a healthy relationship or, be able to be open and vulnerable with someone else. But um,
Yeah. Absolutely. And
yeah,
I'll
it's
say this
so crazy.
just to say what you said about how you were thinking, like Dick was thinking, how can I make this abandonment wound worse? For me, from my perspective, it's how can I make this abandonment wound work for me, and then
Yeah.
in turn that makes that worse. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's always looking at people's wounds and people's where they have insecurities, where they struggle to, and then uses them to benefit him. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like be careful what you share with people
Yeah.
because it becomes the weapon used against you,
Be careful
which is
what you
a
share
hard
with the
thing.
wrong people.
Yeah,
There's
it's
always
a
the right person.
totally. But then it's the question that I think people would ask themselves, like, well, how do I know? How do I know?
Yeah.
I think you don't. I think that part of another common attribute trait that we all share is like, I think that we're all very romantic, and I think that
Oh yeah.
being with somebody as opposed to being alone is the goal. And I don't ever want to end up being the jaded person, the like,
Yeah.
fuck men, blah blah blah. I love men. I love men.
Yeah.
Like, not like that, but like I think
I get
that men's mental health is really important to me, and
yeah.
there's just a lot of stuff where I feel very strongly about men where I think other people would be like, you have every reason to not like them or, be an asshole your whole life. And I just don't. So,
Yeah. I love
um,
that. That's very beautiful and shows how you are choosing to heal, because I think a lot of people choose anger and you're not choosing to be angry at every single man, which is really good, and that shows your maturity, because that's what I did for a long time. I hated men. I hated men. I didn't want anything to do with men, and that's a really hard route to go down, because every man is the enemy and is going to use you to manipulate you to get something out of you. And that's the route I went down, and that's a really hard route to go down. So I think that's
yeah,
beautiful.
it just seems like it would do me a disservice because
Yeah.
I'm like, I
And
want to
men.
find my person still, which I think is unbelievable to some people that I'm saying that, but it's like, I want to find my person. But if I act like I hate every single, like member of
Yeah,
that stuff, like that's not going to happen for me. So, um,
absolutely.
yeah. So, well, I appreciate you jumping on and,
Yeah.
like sharing very, very personal, traumatic, like going through that and mentally reliving it with me and with everybody else. I know that I asked a lot of questions, but I know that the listeners are going to have more questions. So, what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to do like a reel of some sort where, like, hey, this is your opportunity to ask Joanna any questions that I didn't. So
Yeah,
I'll let you know and I'll tag you in that, and you can respond
absolutely.
how you want. You can respond with a video, you can respond, just in the comments, whatever you want to do. But
Yeah.
thank you again because you had like the strength to carry through what you carried through, and I saw that it could be done. It really like gave me strength to move forward with this part of my journey.
I'm glad.
Yeah. And
And
I'm
thank
glad
you
that
for
we now like
started.
I just have a lot of more female friends. Like I'm like, hey,
Yes.
we might have all slept with the same person, but like
Yeah.
we're
It
just
doesn't mean
the
we're
just the
mortal enemies
weirdest
though.
friends of all time.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But we have like a common ground and an understanding, I think, like a vulnerability that other people don't have,
Totally.
because yeah. But thank you for letting me be on here and share my story. And I'm genuinely so proud of you for doing this, because I know that it has to be very hard. But yeah, I think what you're doing is beautiful, and just trying to bring light to narcissism in general. I think it's incredible. So thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for letting me be part of it.
Of course. If you ever want to come back, hopefully nothing, I don't want
Anytime.
any more trauma in your life. If you ever want to come back and have anything to add, you're always
No,
welcome.
no.
So
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Well, I will see you, girlfriend.
Alrighty. Bye.
Right. Bye.
It's not over yet till you taste regret. It's not over yet.